Have you ever been digging around your beer fridge and discovered a can or bottle of something you had not remembered was there? Well, that's what this special segment is all about. There are so many great beers out there, and with only a couple of times each month to share them with you, it was time to add a new segment to address this. Welcome to Beer Fridge Bonus. For this bonus session, I pulled 3 beers out of the beer fridge from Big Lake Brewing in Holland, Michigan. These beers came from my main beerski, Logan, who bought these directly from the brewery. I've been waiting for a perfect time to review them, and the shortest day of the year seemed like a perfect opportunity. So without further delay, the original Imperial Stout, Undertaking, I reviewed on Season 3 of the podcast. So what I'm drinking today are the 3 variants of that original Undertaking. The first one is Maple Bourbon Barrel Aged. Maple Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Stout, thick and rich and dark. Rye Whiskey Barrel Aged. Our triple mashed, double boiled Imperial Stout aged in a rye whiskey barrel. And then finally, Rum Barrel Aged. Our triple mashed, double-boiled Imperial Stout, aged in a rum barrel. So I poured each one of these 3 out into a taster glass. When I compare them all, they all look pretty similar. I will say that the rye whiskey variant seems to be a little bit more effervescent, and it also seems, just from a visual standpoint, to be a little thinner as well, which I find very interesting. So the first one I'm going to take on here is the Maple Bourbon Barrel Aged variant. Let's see what this smells like. Yeah, big, boozy, and dangerous, I can tell you that right now. Get a little bit of that maple sweetness on the nose, but definitely getting a lot of that barrel aging as well. So first up impression of this one. So that is smooth and delicious. When I saw that maple was one of the adjuncts used in this beer, I knew it was going to have that kind of a maple flavor on the palate. And it has that boozy kind of burn that accompanies a maple barrel-aged beer. Super smooth. Comparing this to the original, I'd say it maybe has just a little bit more body. But again, just a big, in-your-face booziness on the nose. Love me a good barrel-aged beer. Alright, so next up, the Rye Whiskey Barrel-Aged. So this one doesn't have nearly as much booze on the nose. I think that the whiskey barrel tends to be a little bit more mild, maybe. But compared to that original Maple Bourbon Barrel Aged one, there's hardly any comparison. All right, I'm going to take a sip here of this Rye Whiskey Barrel Aged beer. I like this one as well. The basic underlying commonality between these beers thus far, a lot of booziness. A lot of deep, dark notes, flavor-wise. Again, because we're talking about barrel aging here, getting a lot of that charred wood kind of profile. Definitely getting that leathery kind of earthiness to it. Again, in its own right, it is delicious. And my original suspicion was correct. It does seem a little bit more thin on the tongue. It does seem to have a little bit less of a full-bodied mouthfeel than the other ones so far. Again, I need to look into this and see why that could be. And then finally, Rum Barrel Aged. So this one I can already sense on the nose. I'm getting a lot of that rum aroma that I'm familiar with. Interesting. Much more mild. Although I will say that the alcohol is hidden very, very well in this Rum Barrel Aged beer. Aside from the burn that I'm getting as it travels down my throat, I would not ever have any idea that this was a Rum Barrel Aged beer that was 14%. It certainly does not taste like it. It's definitely got that nice full-bodied mouthfeel on it. Getting a little bit of that rum on the aftertaste. Maybe just a little bit of maybe a zing to it too. That could just be my perception after having all these different variants. Very interesting. So compared to the original base Imperial Stout, again, that one comes in at 13%. It is very delicious. So with these additional variants coming in at 14%, we're taking this up a notch. So if I compare the three of these, probably my favorite is going to be that maple bourbon barrel-aged variant. I'm a big fan of that flavor profile. Okay, so I'm going to recant that for just a moment. So one of the things that all my listeners know is that anytime you get a beer that's in the double digits as far as the ABV goes, you definitely want to make sure that you are letting it warm up, letting those flavor and aroma profiles kind of build, because the beer really changes as it hits the oxygen and starts warming up. So originally, the whiskey barrel aged was pretty mild. Didn't get a whole lot of whiskey, but after it's setting for even just a few moments out, I'm almost getting some notes of almost vanilla maybe on the finish of that beer. Very interesting. Yeah, most certainly. That's what I'm getting. Crazy. So each one of these individually stand well on their own, but when you compare them as kind of a whole series, they all work really well together. And I think that Big Lake has done a really good job of really balancing the flavors and choosing the right kind of barrel to age this beer in. So surprisingly, there really haven't been a whole lot of reviews on Untappd for the variants, which, again, less than 100, kind of surprising. But it is a big beer, probably limited run, and that could be why. So I count myself fortunate that I had the opportunity to taste these beers. Overall, I give these variants 4 tasters out of 5 on the flight board. Cheers, Big Lake Brewing, and thanks again, Logan.
Just so you know, if you have a beer, cider, or mead that you'd like me to review here on Beer Fridge Bonus, let me know what it is by sending me a message through Instagram at 5beerplan2022 or emailing me at 5beerplan@frontier.com. If I can get my hands on it, I'll review it and give you props for suggesting it. If I can't get it and you can, perhaps you'd be willing to send a can or a bottle my way. I'm also looking for breweries who are interested in having an honest, unbiased review of their products. So if that's you, reach out today.